there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'm all nervous and shaky. Welcome to the channel, even though we're coming on a little bit late this evening. I had a complete tech shutdown. Welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth, and this is Hillbilly Crime. So we've already got a whole lot of people in here. Praise God. Praise God. So, tell you a little bit about my week. We've had baseball games. Saturday was all day baseball. And last week, so everybody knows that I am in Suboxone treatment. Have been for a very, very, very long time. Now, used to, like when I first started going to church, several of the old timers were like, well, you can't be a Christian taking that medicine. You can't be a Christian and be in that kind of program. That's just trading, stigma. And so several times over the years, I would get a wild hair at my honey, and I decided I was coming off of this medicine. It was too much of a hindrance. People judged me so bad, and I was trying to go into a particular field, of employment. And none of the people that were in MAT treatment, like, you don't see any of those success stories being shown and touted by the rehab people. The only stories and people that they would show, which were very few, if you really think about it, real life examples, were people that had went through their program and had maintained it through abstinence. Even though all this money and all these grants and all these projects are coming in for Matt, mostly, I would say, because there's a piece of criteria that all of the clinics or the medical facilities had to offer Matt treatment in order for them to be eligible for any federal money. That's one reason why MCHC started Suboxone Clinic, because they did not have one. And for many years, you know, doctors had to go get like a special certification to even be able to prescribe it, which was ridiculous. They made it so hard to get, you know, but it was so easy for somebody to set up a clinic on every corner, you know, and charge outrageous. But they had to offer Matt. They had to offer Suboxone. Okay, so before I forget what my point was, POV. I had tried to get off of it several times, and I would wean myself down little by little, and my blood pressure would go through the roof. I would go into severe withdrawal. And I just did not respond well coming off of it physically. My health, like it was a danger to my health. And finally, one of the ladies, she used to run the jail ministry down there at Letcher County, Miss Marcy. But I went to church with her for over 10 years. I love her so much. But she called me one day and she said, Elizabeth, take your medicine. God does not want you suffering like this. You know you need it. Take your medicine. You know, don't listen to everybody else. You know what you need. And she was right, and I would break over and take my medicine. And I tried it several times. But what is the purpose of rehab? What is the purpose of this treatment that we're offering to addicts? It's for them to become functional. It's for them to be able to become productive members of society. Who are all the people who are going into these treatment facilities? It's not it's not those of us who have a job. It's not those of us who are mothers and who have kids that depend on us to get them to school in the morning and depend on us to make sure that they have clean clothes and that kind of stuff. That's the purpose. We want people to be able to, one of the things that a lot of people end up dealing with is depression. You know, we already know that mental health is an issue. Mental illness, there's a ton of them, and they've all got a different name, and they're all related to some other dysfunction. Right. So a lot of people, whenever they're not medicated, they suffer from severe depression. How many of us couldn't get up off the couch? You know, I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it at all. But addiction is not a pretty thing. It's not something that anybody is proud of. And mental illness is not something that anybody is proud of. You know, a lot of people struggle with depression, and a lot of us are bipolar, unfortunately. And that's an emotional roller coaster. So you're really high, your highs are really high, and your lows are really, really, really low. And you imagine how hard that is on your family. You know, just imagine what we've put our parents through over the years. My mother is a saint. She's an absolute saint. But so when I'm not, before I found this medicine, I everything I touched turned to a big pile of doo-doo. I couldn't, consistency was very difficult. And I'd say that's probably a lot of our backgrounds. You know, I don't think I'm unique in any way whatsoever. I believe that there's a whole lot of us out here that we are not the ones who have the luxury to go to rehab. So you end up with a whole lot of people going to these rehabs that are court ordered, which, listen, I'm all for it. Sometimes that's what it takes, is to actually get them there. But they're there in a controlled environment. They're not allowed to leave. And if they do, they're going back to jail. Or what we see in Letcher County is a house arrest program. A whole lot of the people who got out of trouble to go to rehab, well, a lot of them left rehab. They didn't stay. Well, what do you think happened? Well, some of them just got put back on house arrest until their trial or whatever. The consequences, there weren't very many consequences. There were. It was just they were not put out in a proper manner. So we've got our Commonwealth attorney in Letcher County. Oh, let me go back to my point. Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. Forget what I'm saying. So I tried to get off this medicine several times. It was just a disaster. Now, being functional, who cares if I have to take a pill every day? I mean, I busted through the glass ceiling, y'all. I did. Now, I might not have done it where anybody else acknowledged it. You know, I might have been the only one that was impressed, but I still did it. You know, we're not the ones who they're putting out there as their success stories. Could you imagine how much money they would lose if it really showed how many millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars are being milked through the system for a failing program and a failing system? Matt is successful, but how much money do you have to go? All that we need is our medicine. That's all we need. All this counseling, this mandatory counseling that they slap on everybody, that's a big waste of time, and it's a waste of money, resources, all of it. Everybody I know was opening up a counseling center because they could do them. They can open up them the exact same way that they open up the MAC clinics. They can contract these counselors. Everything is going to independent contracting these days, if y'all notice. And especially like licensed stuff. You know, that's all usually independent. Well, I don't know. Let me restate that. Let me take that back. I don't know about that. But I do know, you know, I've been in the job market several years now, and, you know, things are changing. Everything's different nowadays. You know, we went through this great big period of time there where people couldn't get jobs that had benefits, right? Insurance. People wanted insurance. They wanted bonuses. They wanted vacation time. And how many of our politicians have I heard on the big TV talking about all this maternity leave and stuff, which I think is a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong. But what happens to that if most of the jobs are turning out to be independent contracting? Because that way they don't have to deal with the taxes and the insurance. They don't have to deal with none of that. They don't have to take on any liability. I mean, it's really brilliant, to be honest. But so last week I went to my doctor's appointment, and I went, and they just call you medicine in or whatever. And they said that they didn't have any more, and they weren't going to be able to get it for a while. The Subutex, they had changed the law, I reckon. So now the only people that are allowed to be prescribed Subutex, which is a form of the Suboxone, it just doesn't have the blocker in it, and I'll explain that in just a second. So the Subutex is only allowed to be prescribed for pregnant women now. But the Suboxone, they were still allowed to sell it or give it, but fill it, but they didn't have it, and they didn't know when they were going to be getting any more. Okay, well, now I'm faithful on my doctor's appointments. I never miss my doctor's appointment. Never. I'm very responsible. I take it as prescribed. I don't mess around. I don't do nothing. This is my life, right? Like, and it's not even a big deal. Like, it's not something that we even really think about at my house. It's not something we ever talk about. It's not something that's even a thing. You know, I take my medicine every morning and I go on about my business. I have learned over the years that these situations do arise from time to time. So I have always tried to keep me just a few emergency, my little emergency stash for situations just like this. So if something was to happen and I can't get my medicine, I'll at least be able to get me through like a week until I can figure it out or whatever. But I could only take one a day because that's all I had enough of to. So I took one a day for the last week. Well, on day 3 or 4 or 5, I don't know. Been out of it about a week when I finally went to the doctor. I started getting real bad migraines. My blood pressure started just off the charts. And so that's one reason why I haven't done a show in the last couple of days. My headaches have just been absolutely horrendous. Today, I feel much better. Today is the first day that I've not felt that migraine starting. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. Now, it's terrifying for me to think I finally got my medicine. The pharmacy called yesterday and said that it was ready. They had gotten it. So, but the day before yesterday, let's see, what is today? Tuesday. So it was Saturday or Friday, one of the days. Might have even been Monday. I don't know. Y'all, I don't know. Anyway, so I go to the pharmacy to pick up my blood pressure medicine. And I think I just picked up my Suboxone too. But I asked our pharmacist, Jay, to check my blood pressure to see, because I was getting a migraine, and just to see if my blood pressure was up. It was 167 over 110. That's high. I was in bad shape just from not having my medicine. People think, oh, they can just quit that stuff. Well, you either quit because you want to, or you quit because you're forced to, right? From whatever reason you're forced to. Think about all those people that were in jail, that had to go to jail, and they weren't allowed to have their medicine back then. I wouldn't be here. If they had made me, go off of it, if I had gotten in trouble and went to jail, I would not be here. But so I think it's really important for all of these people who are making so many major decisions about this stuff. Like, they're not talking to people like me. And I used to write email after email after email to the Office of Drug Control Policy. I've wrote emails to every office in this state over the years, back like in 2018, around then. That was when I was trying to break in down there. And one of the reasons why I went to school and I did so well and stuff, it was because I wanted to prove to them. Like, they rejected me flat out when I didn't have any education. I was just down there trying to talk to them and try to go into like peer support. And I thought, well, that's all right. I'll go get my own peer support specialist license. I'll go pay for it myself. They don't have to hire me. I'll go buy it myself, and then they'll hire me. Oh, they didn't. And so I thought, but I had already started school by then. I think I was getting ready to graduate with my associate's degree. So that was like my first 2-year degree. And I would go down there and try to talk to them, and they wouldn't have nothing to do with me. I mean, it was like rejection that'll hurt your feelings. It wasn't just like they tried not to talk to you, whenever you come around. Like, this rejection would hurt your feelings. Did mine. I thought, that's all right. That's all right. That just means I have to get my bachelor's now. Do you see the pattern here? So I went to school and I busted my butt. I'm going to show them. They're going to accept me now. They're going to listen to what I got to say now. That's all right. I'll get my master's degree. Then they'll have to listen. I feel like a fool. I mean, I really do. I feel like a big fool. Because I got the master's and they still wouldn't listen to me. And my dumb butt thought, I'll go to law school or I'll get my PhD. Then they'll have to listen. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad that I got my job when I did, because I took off like a firecracker, honey. I struggled for the first year in sales, and I had to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, I've had to learn the hard way in a lot of areas. People who are really smart and people who are really wise, they learn from other people's mistakes. They don't. It's called the hot stove phenomenon. We can see that stove bright red. We know that's hot. And Mommy done told me it's hot. Don't touch it. Most of us have to touch it. And then we get burnt. Well, I went back and touched it about 20 times. I could not learn my lesson about nothing. And what is the definition of insanity, my fellow recovery addicts? Addicts in recovery, whatever. What is the definition of insanity? Repeating the same behavior, expecting different results. Kind of a big one there. You know, and Shame X, that's exactly what I take for my BP. Sure is. And I love it. It makes me real sleepy. Clonidine is what I take for my blood pressure. And it makes me sleepy. So I take it at night, usually before I go to bed. But when I first started taking it, I didn't know it made me sleepy. And I'd take it like before I went to church. I'd be in church over like, I know my pastor was like, what is wrong with her? But it was my blood pressure medicine. But, all right, guys. So that was my little story, you know, and I think that we need more people who have the experience. Any dummy can go to a 3-hour training or, you know, whatever. A lot of these trainings are online. A lot of them are just, well, they're just online trainings. So shoot, if they really wanted their wife, if they really didn't want to do it and they want to let their wife do it, if she do it and knew the stuff, how would they ever know? You know? And you can apply that to any industry, really. A lot of trainings are done online now. And a lot of them, I mean, I've done my own fair share of them. Every year you got to do CE credits, continuing education credits. You have to do your renewals on your licenses. There's all different kinds of trainings that people have to take, depending on what industry they're in. And, you know, there's a lot of people who might take these trainings and say they've got all kinds of certificates to show that they've got a paper. Somebody said they could do it. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best one. It doesn't necessarily mean that they learned anything. You know what I'm saying? All right. It's going to take me just a second because when this thing shut down, it shut down all my stuff. And I was trying to hurry and get it all back open because I was running late. And Mom will be back with us shortly. She's been having all kinds of wonderful days lately. She has been planting flowers and digging holes, and she's had a good time. All right. Thank you guys for being patient with me. I appreciate it. All right, let's check this out. Okay, and I also need to bring up the newspaper article. Okay. Let's read this one first, just so everybody kind of knows what we're talking about. Okay. This was a newspaper article that was written April 26th of 2023. Okay. Let me see if I can get it a little bit bigger. So y'all can read along with me. Okay. It's a little bit better. All right. It says a 22-year-old Crafts Collie woman is facing multiple counts of possession and one count of trafficking in amphetamine after a police officer recognized her as someone with a warrant against her. The woman, Taylor Pratt, was a certified nurse aide working for Commonwealth's attorney, Edison Banks, and was riding in a car belonging to him when she was arrested. Banks, who suffered a heart attack last year, said he was told by his doctor that he would not be allowed to go home unless he had a 24-hour CNA. Yes, he had to move one in. He hired Pratt on the recommendation of a friend and then rehired her when his mother became ill, because he's a 75-year-old man. And in this county, they all like them young, honey. All of these, well, not all of them, but a whole lot of our elected officials who are men. And that appearance of impropriety, that is a great big umbrella. There's a whole lot of stuff that can appear to be inappropriate. And this, in my opinion, is severely inappropriate. And anybody else in that courthouse or in that legal system for our county, they should all be ashamed of themselves. Every single one of these people should be ashamed of themselves. He hired Pratt. Okay, he said she had lost her home in the flood and she had her own room in his home. Banks said she took care of their medications, drove him to work, and helped him into the office every day before going back to take care of his mother. It doesn't sound to me like he was in any shape to continue to be the Commonwealth attorney. He hung on to that position. I can't even think of something funny to say. Where's Jess at? What did he hang on to? Where you at, Jess? What did he hang on to that position like? Somebody give me something good to say. I'm awful on comebacks and witty things. I freeze up, start stuttering. The bad part is, apparently she's a bad addict, but I never picked up on it. You ain't been prosecuting them for 30 years? Really? So if you have been prosecuting addicts for 30 years, and you've talked to them, you've been around, this is your job, right? And you didn't pick up on it? Well, that says a whole lot. And it either says one of two things. It either says that he was really an out of touch prosecutor, and I really feel sorry for every single defendant that ever went in front of him, or every single defendant that he prosecuted. He wasn't no judge. or he was a crook. I mean, it's just one or the other, ain't it? Allegedly. According to the citation filed, when Pratt was arrested, Deputy Sheriff Jason Adams recognized Pratt. Is this the same Jason Adams? Because I saw somebody, I saw the Whitesburg Police Department post something on Facebook yesterday, and they referred to Officer Jason Adams. Is that the same Jason Adams from Cumberland or in Harlan, whose daddy was the Adams guy from over there in Benham and played in Alan Wagers' band? Is that who that is? Does anybody know? Let me know if that's that Jason Adams or if it's a different one. I'm curious. All right. Deputy Sheriff Jason Adams recognized Pratt when she got in the passenger side of the SUV at Whitesburg Plaza Shopping Center and knew there was a warrant out for her. He followed the vehicle onto US 119. He must not have been in the loop. And pulled it over near Fairview Drive. Oh. Adams wrote that he arrested Pratt and found a small black drawstring bag lying on her seat that contained 3 plastic tubes filled with Mary Jane, after which he searched further in the vehicle. According to the citation, he found a backpack containing 3 pipes, a set of scales, and multiple straws, and a glass vial containing a crystal-like residue. Adams wrote that the side panel of the center console appeared to have been out of place. Oh, you don't reckon a hiding spot in a Commonwealth attorney's vehicle? Interesting. Suspicious. And when he removed it and looked inside, he found a magnetic box with 2 small baggies containing approximately 5 grams of suspected meth, a baggie containing a brown powder believed to be the big H word that unalives everybody. The strips are suspected of being LSD. It says he also found plastic bags containing an unknown substance, which I'm pretty sure Mickey had sent off, and it came back as the big F word that unalives everybody. We're going to hear that in the next article, so it'll tell us. 2 big plastic bags containing multiple small baggies, a Smith & Wesson pew-pew, and a Braco Arms semi-automatic pew-pew. So she was rolling dirty. How dirty is she rolling to not even get caught? I didn't know that, Peachy King. I had not seen that yet. Well, that don't surprise me none, because it's all his buddies too, who are running his area. You know, they protect their own. They sure don't go against them. Let me put her up. Bella, get down. If she starts, I'll put her up. Bella, get down. According to the citation, before I start this, let me just go put her up. Come on. Nope. All right. Make sure everything's good to go, good to go, good to go. According to the citation, he found a backpack containing 3 pipes. Did I read that? Oh, I already read that. Banks said the Smith & Wesson was inherited from his aunt, and police returned it to him. Pratt was taken to the Letcher County Jail. She was released on a $10,000 unsecured bond on the condition that she attended 90 days of a drug rehabilitation that she did not do. And this one is the next article. Delay in criminal case against live-in nurse's aide questioned. This was September 6th, 2023. The handling of a court case involving a live-in certified nurse's aide. And wait a second, look at the date. When was this? Y'all notice something? This was after Ben and his big mess, wasn't it? When did he get, does anybody remember when he was actually let go? I don't remember the date. But this was right around that same, we're talking within a few years. There was a whole lot that started to come out. And just to interject something here too, I spoke to someone this morning, or no, it was last night, and they said that we've got victims and we've got people who I think and they think will come forward eventually, but they're not going to come forward until they know they're safe. And there ain't no safe right now. You notice nobody will really come forward and talk about any of this. I'm just the only dummy that's willing to do it. But I never was much of a talk behind your back type of person. I have what I think and how I feel, and right's right and wrong's wrong. You can't, everything has to be applied equally. Our laws and our rules and stuff, all of that stuff has to be applied equally, or it just doesn't, it doesn't work. Edison should have got in trouble. It was his vehicle. They didn't. They didn't do nothing. Nothing. And even after the pew of Judge Mullins and Mickey Stines, that whole case, I live less than 2 minutes from the judge's house. There've never been any police there. I pass his house 10 times a day, if none, right? We go to school. I pass his house several times a day, depending on how much I go out. But there have never been any police at his house, ever. Not right after this happened. I had heard that the judge's wife really stayed a lot with her kids in Neon or McRoberts or wherever they live. I don't even know. But that she stayed a lot with them. And the judge then, I guess, must have been by himself at his house a whole lot. I don't know. But I do know that ever since this has happened, there's nobody there. Like their place over there is like a ghost town, like it doesn't have any life in it whatsoever. None. Every once in a while, you'll see a vehicle there that'll just come and maybe check on everything and then leave. But there's never anybody that stayed there since September of last year. I forget what I was saying that for, but let's get back to this. All right, I'll remember in a minute and finish it. The handling of a court case involving a live-in certified nurse's aide who was arrested while driving a vehicle owned by the Letcher County Commonwealth's attorney is drawing questions from lawyers and others in the county. What lawyers was it drawing questions from? Because I sure ain't never heard of any questioning it. Maybe the ones that you don't really hear about very often. I don't know. But I sure ain't heard nobody say it, come out publicly and say it. These 2 articles were the only way that I think anybody even knew about any of this stuff. And this was the most information we got out of it. Why didn't we get in? And if you go look at Carrie Hall, when she got arrested for what she got arrested for, the paper wrote a great big article about her and told what happened with her while she was getting arrested, even though her victim was an underage minor too. It still told what she was being, what happened for her to be charged with what she was charged for. Patrick Little, the case of the 2 minors, one under 12 and one under 16, that he took a plea bargain for the sex abuse stuff, and he didn't get a day in jail. Not one day. They also wrote an article about it, but they didn't say anything except for what he was charged with and the dates of the court dates. They didn't write any of this stuff. So it's pretty shocking to me that this actually came out. And when it came out, what was done about it? Not a damn thing. Nothing has been done about it. Well, he's passed away now, but he wasn't the only one that should have been held accountable for that. She should have been. From what I've heard, she's allegedly a big runner here in Letcher County. And we see the criminal charges and the history, the criminal history, and the social history to prove it. Cases have now come to light that show she had been arrested at least once before on a drug charge and pulled over and ticketed 2 days before the latest rug arrest for speeding and careless driving. Also, while in Banks's 2013 Tahoe. And those vehicles, those attorney vehicles. Now, I don't remember seeing his, but I remember looking at other ones. Like I saw Matt Butler's vehicle and several others. And on their license plate on the back, it says official. He was a state law dog. He was the top county law enforcement. He was the top dog. And we have all these questions about where did the evidence go? Where's all the rugs, the pews, and the money that was confiscated off of all these people that were then put in jail and pretty much funneled through a system that they had no options or choices? You know, they pretty much, you either go under house arrest under Ben Fields or a like-minded co-worker, for lack of a better word, or you go in jail under Angie Fields, who might beat you up if you look at her husband wrong, allegedly. And what if you're one of these girls who he's hitting on left and right, you know, and you don't feel like you have any choice? Well, then they're just feeding you to the wolves, because then they're going to stick you in jail with his wife. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. You can't even make any of this up. Where is that fair? Or do you think that is appropriate civil rights for people? And then you go to jail, or rehab. Then you go to rehab, and you're under someone like Michael Clark, the preacher. When you're always having to worry about one of them hitting on you and propositioning you and trying to get their knob slobbed, forgive me, but that's what we're talking about here. That's what they're doing. That's what they want. That's all they want. They just want a little quick, do this for me and go on about your business. It infuriates me. It infuriates me that then our jailer would say, oh, he's such a good dude. He's such a trustworthy guy. I'm going to make him a trustee. And I'm going to let his wife come in, even though they both... Listen, who all knew about that polygraph that Ben took? You think that they don't all know that loophole? You think they all don't know what each other's doing? You can't work side by side as closely as what they appeared to do. I mean, all you have to do is look at them security footage of the courthouse. Matt Butler with his feet up on his desk, all kicked back. He was at home in the lounge, in the smoking room with Angie sitting right across from him. How does any of this not have the appearance of impropriety? How does it not? I mean, it's just everywhere that you look. It's everywhere that you look. They're all related in some way, shape, or form. You know, the parole officer who works down there in Jimmy Craft's courtroom. The middle name that she goes by is Mead. Is she related to those Meads? So I guess it would be Ben's mother's people that would be the Meads. I'm just wondering. Trying to find all these family relationships, these familial relationships. There's a lot of the same last names floating around. Commonwealth's attorney Edison Banks stepped aside in the rug case, and the Kentucky Attorney General, oh, that makes me feel so much better. What about you guys? You don't have any much confidence in our attorney general's office, because I sure don't. I mean, I like his prosecutor guy. I mean, what little bit I've seen of him, what little bit I have found out about him, he seems like a fine prosecutor. But I don't have much confidence after we see the investigation that they did into Benfield's case. Somebody had to sign off on all that stuff. Matt Easter could not have been the top say. Like, was there not somebody over him that supervised his work? Somebody had to sign off on that somewhere, even if it was the attorney general himself. Someone had to sign off on that investigation. And they dropped the ball, in my opinion. And that makes it very suspicious. How and why would you drop that ball? Because that ball is a very, very, important ball. That's like a very, very important thing that you would want to catch. If there's this much, if what I think is happening and has been happening, there's going to be a whole lot of people in jail. It ain't just going to be one or two. It would be a huge network of dirty deeds. I think it would be like one of them things where if you start pulling that string, it's just going to start unraveling. And I think people have been real sloppy, especially with their phones, because everybody got real comfortable. They got really, really comfortable with their positions, with their power, with their authority. I don't think anybody ever thought that anybody would ever come looking. And if they did, who would believe anybody else? These are very upstanding. Honey, they've got awards all over their walls. Somebody gave them lots of pieces of paper and lots of pats on the back. But like I said, y'all, it's always that people always do good. Like the Bible even says that even the evil people love their own children. Right? Even the evil people love their own kids. And we're all human beings. Each one of these people that fill these positions are human beings, and they are susceptible to temptation, greed, and evil as anybody else. Okay, I'm sorry, I keep getting distracted here. He stepped aside in the Rudd case, and the attorney general has apparently appointed a special prosecutor from Bell County, which is Pineville, which is on the other side of Harlan. So we're in Letcher County, then you've got Harlan County, and then you've got Bell County. But so far, there has been no indictment and seemingly no movement in the case. That's where it died, y'all. Banks has been ill for more than 3 years and has rarely been in his office or in court during that time. Well, how can he continue to hold that position? How, in God's name, did our attorney general allow someone who wasn't even showing up to continue to serve in that position? Because you know what they did? They just kept paying him. He collected all the money that a Commonwealth attorney gets. I have absolutely no idea how much money he made, but you better believe he made a lot of money. And there ain't nothing left, from what I understand. I got a whole bunch of documents, y'all. I got a ton. I got a lot of documents on this case. Banks. Okay. Banks has been ill for more than 3 years. He recently finished a stay in a nursing home for physical rehabilitation. His office referred calls to his home or his cell phone, but he could not be reached at either number. The main case being questioned involves Taylor Pratt, 23, a CNA who had been living in Banks's home as a caregiver. Letcher County Deputy Sheriff Jason Adams arrested her during a traffic stop on April 19th and charged her with possession of Mary Jane, possession of drug paraphernalia, first-degree trafficking in a controlled substance, first offense, 2 grams of meth or more, first-degree possession of a controlled substance, first offense, H word, first-degree possession of a controlled substance, first offense, LSD, and first-degree possession of a controlled substance, first offense, drug, unspecified. That's the one I think was the F word. And remember, this was 2023, so that stuff really hadn't made it here yet. It was floating in here a little bit, but it really had not made it in here yet. So that makes, and I've heard whispers that this Taylor Pratt was in fact, and I've heard it from several different sources, so I feel comfortable repeating it. Allegedly, Taylor Pratt was one of the girl who OD'd that's in this lawsuit against Ben, Jennifer Hill. Allegedly, that Taylor Pratt was one of Jennifer Hill's realers. Now, I don't know when, in any specific time frame, but that makes it even more suspicious. If Taylor Pratt was one of the realers who was selling to Jennifer Hill when she unalived, well, it wouldn't surprise me none, because I'm looking at several red rums in this area. And just see how, if I don't see how they can't be connected in some way, even if it was just even if it was simply incompetence and like trying to cover their own butt, even if that was just the least of it, but I don't think it was. I think all of this is about money. I think it's all, I've said it from the very beginning, I think it's all about money. I think there were so many cons and scams and schemes that were going on. And I think that there were a whole lot of dishonest and greedy people who took advantage of the laid back, countrified, everything, nothing was up to date. Like everybody was saying, oh, VHS tape, a VHS tape. Well, you know, when I bought this house last year, now I don't know if she meant to say VHS or not, but I have heard that the courthouse used VHS to record certain things all the way up until just a few years ago. Why? Because they don't want to take money and replace something that they don't really even care about anyway. Right? I mean, that makes sense to me. It makes a whole lot of sense to me. But the guy the old man that lived in this house, he passed away and I bought the house. He was still using a VHS tape. We had to clean, nobody took the stuff out of this house. We had to clean the whole house out. We cleaned out all of his belongings, everything that he had. And he still used a VHS tape because he was old, you know, but for whatever reason, there are people that still use them, or that did up until several years ago, or the last few years, whatever. All right. She was driving Banks's silver Chevrolet Tahoe at the time. I don't see how there wasn't a search warrant. Like, and I'm no lawyer, but somebody tell me, if they found all of those rugs in that vehicle, and she was charged with trafficking in the amount and the several different substances that she was, can they not see if she's got more at her residence? Or is it was just a traffic stop and that's as far as they're allowed to go? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Let's see. Robert, these days the meek shall inherit the earth. Doesn't sound like such a good promise. It's hard. It's hard. Jersey bread. Banks also got a raise without going in much in the 3-year period. Oh, it's just, you know, it makes me wonder. So, hypothetical. Could a system be set up if you've got a dirty judge, if you've got a dirty lawyer, a prosecutor, if you got a dirty, if you've got dirty police officers, could you set up a system where you take all this stuff in and so much of it gets skimmed off the top and then resold back into the street? Or resold in bulk somewhere else? Heck, I don't know. You're going to be getting money from everywhere. So if you're getting money from the forfeitures, you're getting money from skimming, you're getting money from grants, you're getting money from, and that was something else I wanted to mention. All that $40 million grant to SOAR and all these grants that I've found. You guys, I've got so much information, so much. Like proof, like tangible stuff. All I got to do is throw it up here on my screen, trying to figure out how to present all of this in a way that it makes sense to people who don't live here and who might not be familiar with all this stuff. It's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. Oh, let's see. I know I was going to say something and it went out of my head. Let's see. Gloria Estefan. I remember her. Thank you, David Parker. We are brave in the Lord and get our self-esteem from him, not the world. Be proud of our desires and struggles to get there. That's right. Oh, you all just don't know how proud of myself I am. I mean, pride goes before a fall. I don't have much pride. I really don't. But if there's two things in my life that I'm actually proud of. My kids, because I actually did it. You know, I feel like I have successful, and they're not raised yet, but I feel like I have successfully made the right decisions and I've took the right actions only because whatever the Lord led me, you know, the path the Lord led me down. And a whole lot of it was struggle. A whole lot of it was very, very hard. It was struggle. But I'm proud of the mother that I am, that I've turned out to be. I didn't think I was going to be a very good mom, but I'm pretty proud of it. Number two, I'm proud of my education. I'm proud that I did all that and got as far as what I did and was as successful at it as I was. Because I was a basket case nightmare. Nobody wanted to see me coming because I was just going to cost them something. You know, they were going to have to give me a cigarette, or they were going to have to let me take a shower, or they were going to have to let me borrow some clothes, or maybe not that bad, but that's how I feel like it was. You know, you always at other people's mercy, whoever will let you stay with them. Nope. I provide a roof over our heads and I pay my own bills, and it's only because I get up and work every day. It's not because anybody provides for us in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm envious, and I can't help myself. I'm very envious of people who have family members who work and make a good living and take care of them. Very envious of that. I wish I had that, but I don't. And I've been in enough bad relationships to know when you don't have anywhere else to go, you have to settle and accept the treatment that somebody gives you, and it's not always good. When have you heard the saying, beggars can't be choosers? Well, that's a lot. Those are the ones that are struggling out there that end up in court-ordered rehab. But like I was saying earlier, those of us who have gotten into a program, the MAP program, because it's got such better numbers. The data on MAT is better. But nobody's looking at the data. I don't think. Heck, I don't know. Maybe they are. But they don't want to accept those of us who are on it and who have done well. But I think it's all connected. I think it's every bit connected. Keep the problem going. Keep the money funneling in. And everybody's got a job. Everybody's got job security. Everybody's being enriched like never before. I think I'd like to have my own bedroom. I'd like to live in a big old fancy house and stuff like that. I'd love to have that. But Alan said, but not if it takes away heaven, because heaven's going to be so much better than any fancy pants house we can have here. At least that's what I think. I'll sleep on my couch till the day the Lord takes me home, and I'll be satisfied. I'm not greedy. I share what I got with other people because I know that the Lord's going to provide for me. He's going to make a way. But if I don't share what I got with this one, later on when I need it again, he might say, you remember that when you could give that person $10 in the grocery store and you didn't? I'm terrified of that happening. Terrified of that happening. And so I gave half of what I made away last year and didn't even realize I was doing it. I've had to learn how to manage my money, no matter if I make $10 or if I make $100. I have to learn I had to learn the hard way. Bobcat Philo. Sorry, I know my comments are a little crazier, spaced out from what we were talking about, but wait till every diploma is null and void. What are we going to do then? I mean, mine never did really matter anyway. It mattered to me greatly. But I've not been able to ever use it for a job. She was released on an unsecured. I've already read that part. Bank said at the time that she had been recommended by a friend so he could come home from a nursing home following a heart attack. And he was unaware that she had a rug problem. None of the attorneys who were concerned about the case would comment publicly about the case. Well, that's very interesting. So that means that this reporter, like I've said before, these are all his buddies down there who work at the courthouse. I mean, he might not be buddies with some of them, but he's buddies with a whole lot of the old timers. None of the attorneys who were concerned. So I'm perceiving what he's saying, that none of the attorneys who shared with him their concerns over this case would go on the record and comment for his article, but they would talk to him off the record, which that's how a lot of people are with me. They'll tell me everything. They just don't want their name. They don't want it to be connected back to them. Everybody's afraid. And apparently these same attorneys who were concerned about the case, but who would not comment publicly about the case, but questioned privately why nothing has happened. Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Stines, whose deputy made the arrest, said his office has not had anything to do with the delay and is ready to proceed. There's no favoritism, no special treatment. We'll indict her just like we do any one of the hundreds we've arrested for drugs, Stines said. He said his office is waiting for a prosecutor to be appointed. He and others said they have been told it's been referred to the Bell County Commonwealth's attorney, but there is no entry of appearance for her in the court file. Remember how I was asking about Daniel Dotson's court entry of appearance? Which is different because it's a federal civil case and this was a state criminal case. And I found out later that as long as it was typed in the beginning of that deposition that he was there representing him, then that was okay. But it was just very odd. We've went back and looked and we've dug up every single thing we can find. All of the filings, everything that we've been able to find. That's the only time Daniel Dotson has shown up to represent Mickey in that case. It's the only time that we found. That screams even more to me that he allegedly, possibly was sent there to intimidate and silence, which I don't think Mickey would have said anything anyway. I really don't. I think a lot of times in groups of friends, like we've heard that Mickey and Kevin Mullins weren't really friends. I've heard that several times. But I didn't really want to comment on it much because I didn't know. But now I've heard it. And even his lawyer, Mickey's lawyer, came out and said it in that one of those last interviews. That they were not necessarily friends. They were co-workers. How many of you all have a co-worker whose authority, they've got an authority over you? They might as well be the boss. Kevin was the boss. He was the boss. You know, no smoking in any courthouse in the dang country. But yet he could smoke in his courthouse. He had that much power. There wasn't, and you know everybody could smell it. Cigarettes stank. And I smoked for years and years and years, so I can say it. They stank so bad. So bad. So you know when the AOC showed up every month, you know they smelled it. Now my girlfriend who worked as a custodian there, she said that the judge he always knew whenever they were coming to visit. I guess maybe they came once a month. And she said that he would call down to them in the morning and say, okay, today so-and-so's coming. I need you to go in, pick up the ashtrays, dump the ashtrays. And she said he would say, bleach, bleach, bleach. Bleach it, clean it real good. You can clean it till the cows come home. If you've only got 6 hours notice that somebody's on their way that day and you got to clean it, do you think that smell's going to be gone off them walls and stuff? Ceiling? I mean, I'm sure Shannon didn't clean the ceiling. I'm sure they could smell it. And that smoking room had not been up there too awful long. They started it in the basement. The jailer, once he came into office in 2018, this new jailer got elected. And every single time I'd go down to the courthouse, I mean, it never failed. Anytime I needed to talk to Kevin about something or whatever, he would be down there in that basement room, smoking room. And I knock on the door. I went in several times, and the smoke would come out of that door when they would open it up like Cheech and Chong. In the courthouse, y'all. But, I mean, it's just, and I'm not trying to pick, but, you know, there should be rules that apply across the board. Certain people shouldn't get that much power where they are above the law. And we're looking at Edison Banks. And he passed away like a week after the election. Judge Mullins was pew-pewed in September 19th. So when Mickey went in there, Edison Banks was still alive, and he was still a player in this nightmare, really. But he wasn't the Commonwealth attorney. See, there was a little kind of tricky thing that happened around that time. Edison, it says in this article, he wasn't working like 3 years, wasn't working. Finally, I mean, it did take the Attorney General's office 3 years or longer. Heck, I don't know. They finally came in and said, okay, we have to appoint somebody. We have to fill this position. Well, they didn't fill it with Michael Watts. And I don't know why, because that office would not have even been ran if it had not been for Michael Watts, one of the assistant Commonwealth attorneys. Now, I don't know if he was the only one or if they had a dozen assistants. I don't know. I just know Michael and Nick Whitaker, who's our new district judge now. Yay! I don't think I've done a show since then. So they did choose Nick Whitaker to be our new district judge, which is awesome. I'm so glad and relieved that it was Nick, that they chose Nick. I think that he was the very best one to choose for judge. But, you know, we don't hear a lot about Michael Watts. He's never in any of these articles, but yet you can't go into the courtroom without Michael being one of the ones there working on the case. You know, he's been the workhorse for a long time at that courthouse. Let me finish reading it. So, they ended up appointing Matt Butler. Thank you. Okay, so we also have a treat for in the morning. So tomorrow they are having a hearing over Edison's stuff, over Edison's house. They're trying to get Taylor out of there. Okay. Let me finish reading this. Publicly about the case for Ruggs. Mickey Stines. Letcher County, Mickey Stines, whose deputy made the arrest. I've already read that too. Sorry, y'all. I lose my place. There's no favoritism. Okay, there. Entry of appearance. Bell County Commonwealth's attorney, Lisa Fugit. So any of my diggers out there, if you want to try and find out, Lisa Fugit, Bell County Commonwealth's attorney. and her appointment to this case. We try to find all the public records we can on that. But while that case was reported in April, there were 2 more cases that were not discovered at that time. One was a traffic ticket issued by Kentucky State Police 2 days before the rug arrest, charging Pratt with driving 26 miles over the speed limit and careless driving. So was she careless driving and speeding 26 miles over the speed limit? Wouldn't that be I think there's something else they could have charged her with, but they obviously didn't. But let's see. One was a traffic ticket issued by KSP 2 days before the rug arrest, charging Pratt with driving 26 miles over the speed limit and careless driving. The citation, which was not previously seen, accuses her of driving 90 miles per hour in a 55 miles per hour zone on US 23 in Banks's silver SUV. That's what I was looking for. Trooper Brandon Watts. I think that's the same one who gave me such a hard time when all that happened with Alan. Trooper Brandon Watts wrote that after stopping the accused, she was asked to exit the vehicle. A hypodermic Edelnay thing fell from her lap as she exited. So it fell from her lap as she was getting out. That means she had it in her hand. She was messing with it in some way, shape, or form. It had to get in her lap somehow. There were things in the door and in the console. I also located glass pipes, scales, torch lighters. We know what torch lighters are used for. And more of them prickly things in a backpack. The accused also had Narcan. Well, ain't that wonderful? She could save herself. She was not arrested or cited for any rugs or rug paraphernalia offenses. And he told me that I only had 1 or 2 things going for me. I had all my teeth and I didn't have sores all over my face. That's what that man said to me. And I ain't never done math a day in my life. Not that that makes me any better than anybody. It's just I got sober before it became really popular. And I've always had a very terrifying fear of the things that she just dropped out of her lap. It kept me away from it, you know. Anyway, so that just goes to show you these cops can be however they need to be with whoever they need to be for whatever purpose it needs to serve. Allison. Alan was so good he managed to get out on the field and play during the game. And please pin this so she can see it. Oh, I don't know how to pin it, but I'll leave it up there. Thank you, sister. Thank you. She took my baby up to the Little League field where he used to play. He played there for, 7 years? So we all know them very well. Our new district judge, Nick Whitaker. His brother was my boy's very first t-ball coach, and he coached their baseball team last year, or 2 years ago. So we love him, and we love his family and their kids. and they all play ball together and go to school together. And we have a great bunch of kids. Have an absolute wonderful bunch of kids at Jenkins. Praise God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. You are so good, Lord. I praise you. I praise you. I praise you. Thank you, Jesus. While those are the only cases in Letcher County, a statewide search shows she was arrested a year earlier in Pike County for driving under the influence, and she was charged with first-degree possession of a controlled substance, hydrocodone. Well, didn't she just get charged with a whole bunch of first offenses a little bit ago that we just read a minute ago? Pikeville Police Department Officer Jay Lawson, let me stop that. That was my point when I said the other night about that Tasha girl. How many PFOs are they going to charge people with and then dismiss, right? Whenever they go to sentencing, whenever they send them to rehab, they knock their PFO off, which is a persistent felony offender. But then they just keep getting in trouble. It's a revolving door. It's a revolving door. How does that, they still get all the money? How is that counted? Are you counting that same person that keeps reoffending and reoffending and reoffending? Are you sending them to rehab and wasting that money every time? Like there should be a limit on how many times people are allowed to take advantage of that, that opportunity and go to rehab, because that's a whole lot of money. I don't know if there is a limit on it or not. I'm just saying, if there ain't, like, that's the information that I want to know. And it makes it, they don't want you to easily find certain information. Okay, Pikeville Police Department Officer Jay Lawson wrote that he warned her on the roadside, and as he was taking her into the jail, that if she had anything illegal on her person, she would be charged for it. While being searched at the jail, a green leafy substance was located on her person. She identified it as Mary Jane and said, F word. That ain't nothing. Classy. Oh, y'all, she was such a classy mule. Oh, give me something good to say on that. Where's Jess at? She ain't here, is she? Is Jess here? We're missing your sarcasm and your wit, Jessica. She was charged with first-degree promoting contraband as a result. What are you doing? After court documents were returned undelivered twice, delaying the case, she filed a change of address with the court. Well, she was living with the prosecuting attorney. Like, y'all didn't know where she was at. You knew exactly what address she was living at. But then failed to appear, or wait a minute, after court documents were returned twice, delaying the case, she filed a change of address with the court, but then failed to appear on April 18th, 2023. So there's a failure to appear one day before her arrest at Ermine. So she already should have had a failure to appear bench warrant on her, and I'm no lawyer. I'm just going by what I know, my knowledge. And I could be wrong, but she should have had a bench warrant, failure to appear when she missed that court date. The next day, when they pulled her over, which it says before her arrest. But she should have been held until she saw a judge, I think. But they didn't. She attended pretrial in June in Pike County, and on July 20th attended court by Zoom. This time, Pike Circuit Judge Howard Keith Hall noted that she was in treatment and that the treatment facility had moved her 4 times and is now moving her further away. I bet that was ARC. Judge Hall wrote that ARC, the rehab center, was to bring her to the next scheduled hearing on September 28th and that she was to appear in person. Sounds to me like the rehab center was trying to hide her. They moved her 4 times and now moving her further away. Her current location was unconfirmed at press time. Her case file in the Letcher Circuit Clerk's office shows she completed 110 days of home incarceration in the April 19th, 2023 case. Here it is, guys. Her attorney, Daniel Dotson, withdrew from the case August 22nd. Of course, Daniel represented her. Of course. Of course. Blows me away. And then here you go. We can read this one. Matt Butler appointed to replace Edison Banks II. I'm not a big fan, which I'm sure everybody can tell. But just to be transparent, I'm not a big fan at all. And he's, I'm sure, not a big fan of me. That's fine. All right. Let's read this. Governor, this was July 3rd, 24. Last year. Governor Andy Beshear has appointed Matt Butler as the new 47th District Commonwealth's attorney after Edison G. Banks II retired effective July 1st. Retired? Well, then he put his name in the hat as soon as the Attorney General appointed Matt Butler to replace him. He threw his name into the election, which was coming up, in just a couple months. Which, of course, he would have been the incumbent if he had stayed on the ballot. But they obviously, look how close that was. The election was what, November 11th? How does any of this make sense, guys? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So did they force him to retire in July so that they could appoint Butler? They didn't remove him, and it doesn't say that he resigned. It says he retired. And then as soon as he retires in July, he goes and throws his name on the ballot for the election. Does that make any sense? Does that make a bit of sense? Oh no, she didn't get. Think about this. Anybody who was on that house arrest system was on Patty's house arrest system. Apparently they're using the guy from Pikeville or somewhere. Maybe it's Harlan. I don't know. I don't remember what they said. But they're using another guy now who had taken some of Patty's business, apparently, according to her deposition, before Ben got in trouble. So I just think that's something I just now caught, that he had retired July 1st. That seems to me like that was a strategy. Because I tell you, Butler barely won. There was a report that a whole lot of people that was at the voting booth at the voting place in their district. And I heard it from several different districts that as people were standing in line, you know, gossiping and talking and just catching up with each other, that a whole lot of them didn't even know Edison had been sick. They weren't aware of none of it. They didn't know that Edison had even missed work. They didn't know any of it. All they knew is that they show up to the voting booth every election, and a lot of people usually vote straight party, especially around here. So, you know, if their families have always voted for Edison, then they're going to vote for Edison down the pike every time. That's why incumbents are so hard to get out of office. People just keep voting in the same crooks. And if you ain't dirty when you go in, by golly, you sure are when you come out, in my opinion. Butler is the Democratic candidate for the office and will fill the position at least until the election this November. Bashir made the appointment Monday afternoon, and Butler was sworn in by Circuit Judge James W. Kraft. So that would be Jimmy Kraft, the mayor's son. During a private ceremony at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, a native of Michigan, Butler moved to Kentucky in 2007. So he's a transplant. He's not even from here. After interning with the federal public defender in Washington, D.C. So he came here with connections all his own. He has since service with the Kentucky Department of Public Advocacy and Hazard, and in private practice in Whitesburg and at a firm in Heinemann, where he worked on coal mine dust mask issues. Banks, who served in the office for 23 years, submitted his letter of retirement March 27th. Oh, so he put it in March, April, May, June, July. What? Why did it take you so many months to accept it? Because he wanted it effective for July 1st. But did not withdraw from the race. And as of this week, so he must have already been in the race before. See, I'm telling you, this was a strategy. How could it not be anything else? He did not withdraw from the race, and as of this week was still slated to appear on the ballot. If he removes his name before August 13th, the county Republican Executive Committee could appoint a replacement candidate, but several other attorneys said they could not think of anyone who was qualified for the office, interested in serving, and registered to vote as a Republican. Under Kentucky law, a candidate for Commonwealth's attorney must be at least 24 years old, a citizen of Kentucky, must have lived in the state for 2 years, the county and district where they're running for 1 year, and been a licensed practicing lawyer for 4 years. The State Prosecutor's Advisory Council and the governor's office provided the letter and other documents late last week in response to open records requests. Banks requested in February that the Attorney General send special prosecutors to handle cases here when current Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Nick Whitaker also had to take sick leave for surgery, leaving no attorney to run the office. Well, where was Michael? I guess Michael must have stepped away from the Commonwealth's attorney's office. It's the only thing I can figure out. I know that he was working in private. He had opened up a private practice with somebody in town. And then I just find it kind of odd because if any of you watched that Butler patting him on the back video that I put up several months ago, Butler was going on about Michael working for the county attorney's office and for his office, and that they were trying to find the money to pay him, and that there was only a $1,500 difference between the county attorney's office and the Commonwealth's attorney's office, and that he had drove all the way to Frankfurt fighting for him to get money. I mean, they're acting like, I don't know, like there ain't already millions and millions and millions and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars headed to this county. Really? Really? Banks could continue to get his paycheck for 3 years when he wouldn't show up. I don't know. I just think that it's all a bunch of greed. I think it's all a bunch of greed. Giddy. If I mispronounced that, I'm sorry. That BP 167 over 110, I believe the 110 is what gives you a headache. It's also this right here. If I could quit drinking these, but oh, I love them. And I'm fat. I go up and down, up and down, up and down. Anytime I get a little meat on my bones, I struggle with my blood pressure. But as soon as I lose it, as soon as I get the weight off of me, I don't have a bit of trouble with my blood pressure. Not a bit. It's just because I'm fat. The Suboxone is so good because it has both buprenorphine and naltrexone, where Subutex is without the naltrexone blocker. Yep, that's exactly right. I did say I was going to explain that, didn't I? But we've got something else that we want to read first. I've done a lot of getting distracted today, sorry. Timesheets provided by the Prosecutor's Advisory Council show banks. See, we can get timesheets. You have no idea what kind of information we can get through public records. I just haven't mastered getting them and requesting them myself. I've kind of left that up to my diggers, because I just get, my anxiety is just through the roof, and I got so much other stuff I got to do. So if I can delegate that to the right people, and I got some fantastic diggers, y'all. We got some fantastic diggers. All right. Timesheets provided by the prosecutor's office. He was on sick leave for at least 18 of the past 37 months. I mean, I sure wouldn't keep my job. Banks was embroiled in controversy last fall over criticisms from other attorneys that he was not showing up for court dates, causing cases to be delayed. Which I bet you, if the right people looked into it, I bet they'd find probably a fourth of the cases should have been dismissed. I bet you anything, if they actually looked into any of this stuff. Like, I don't even get it. Like, what kind of investigation training did they send any of these people to? Because after the judge was pew-pewed, they should have had a search warrant for his home to see, just to see. They should have had one for Mickey's home, not let alone their phones and all of their devices. They should have had, and this is just my opinion. Just my opinion. I have no professional advice here whatsoever. But I don't see how they didn't, whenever they were investigating Ben Fields and they had that proffer of Sabrina saying the higher ups, if they had done any search warrants on devices for any of those people that was in that circle, they would have found them. That's all they had to do, was do search warrants for their devices, for their phones. They'd have found so much. So I think they're going to find plenty on Mickey's and the judge's phones, but they can limit those search warrants too to a certain period of time. They can limit, which I'm no lawyer or nothing, but I'm pretty sure they can limit that. Like, we're just looking for information or whatever, evidence from this date to this date at this time to this time. So if you've got people, if the police are investigating the police and they want to cover up for their buddy for whatever reason, whether it's just out of loyalty or whether it's out of closing the circling the wagons to try and make sure everybody else don't go down. I just don't know. Because we already see how the different agencies, you see the FBI, you see how they conducted their investigation with Scott Blair. It's not like they didn't uncover any evidence. They had the evidence. And he gets charged and convicted in a plea agreement for honest services fraud. Where's the sexual charges? The sexual abuse charges? Where's coercion? Where's, you name it, the rug charges. They didn't charge him with any of that. They didn't, or at least they didn't put it in the plea bargain. I don't even know what they did charge him with initially. I don't remember. But I know he ended up getting the best deal that he could possibly get. Patrick Little got the very best deal he could possibly get. Ben Fields got the very best deal he could possibly get. Brian Dameron got the very best deal he could possibly get. And sending him to Harlan, I'm sure they made him a trustee too. I'm sure he was made a trustee too. Just do your 6 months, buddy. Just do it and we'll be there to pick you up. Take one for the team, man. Take one for the team. Okay. Banks suffered a heart attack in May 21 and returned to work briefly the following January before having to go back to the hospital. Banks told the Mountain Eagle in October that his doctor would not allow him to come home without a 24-hour care nurse, and he hired a certified nurse aide to move into his house in April 2023 so he could be released from the hospital. I bet you he knew her a lot longer. I bet you he didn't just meet her. I doubt that very seriously. That nurse's aide, Taylor Pratt, now 23 years old, was arrested April 19th, 2023. Oh, that would be September. While riding in Banks's 2013 Tahoe with an unidentified driver, so that must have been her boyfriend, I bet you. That arrest came shortly after she was ticketed for speeding while driving Banks's vehicle to a different court appearance in Pike County. That arrest came shortly after she was ticketed. Oh, okay. For speeding while driving Banks's vehicle to a different court appearance in Pike County. The charges were dismissed. I wouldn't have expected anything less. June 13th by a Perry County judge, when a special prosecutor from Bell County failed to answer a motion by the defense that the evidence be suppressed. Police initially charged her with trafficking in a controlled substance, meth, and other rug-related charges, and said they believed some of the rugs were LSD. But Sheriff Mickey Stines said the state laboratory found the rugs were actually the big F word. There it's at. There it is. Stines said he has attempted to contact Bell County Commonwealth's attorney, Lisa Fugit, to find out why no response to the motion was filed and why she filed a joint motion with the defense to dismiss the case. But she has refused to talk to him. She refused to talk to Mickey Stines. Now, you think this crap doesn't have something to do with it? I don't believe it. I do not believe it that it doesn't. I believe all of this is connected. Every bit of it. Every single bit of it. Okay. So now let's go over here. Now this is a little gem that I found. Prevent Diabetes, Eastern Kentucky. This is Miss Taylor Pratt.
They never really taught me anything in school about diabetes or anything. I feel like if everybody would learn about it, they wouldn't even have to be in the position to be diagnosed as pre-diabetic or anything before that, like the situation I was in. My name is Taylor Pratt, and I'm from Irvine originally, but I live in Whitesburg. I'm going to tell you the story how I found out. A couple years ago, I was still in high school. I had really poor eating habits. I would bring a whole box of Little Debbie cakes and half gallon of milk a day, drink it and eat it. And I was always just so tired and fatigued. And I went to my eye doctor because every year I go to the eye doctor. And when the eye doctor looked at my eyes, she said, "There's something not right in there. I'm going to send you to a specialist." And me and my mom, we were kind of freaking out because I've never had anything wrong with my eyes. But when I went to the specialist, he looked at them and he said my right optic nerve was really swelled. And he said that only happens to women that's overweight. So he sent me to the doctor, and that's when I found out I had some diabetic problems. They're in A1C, and they said it was to the point where I'm almost pre-diabetic. So yeah, I found all this out by going to the eye doctor. And there's a lot of people that don't go to the eye doctor like they should. And I feel like if I wouldn't have went that time, I wouldn't have found out that was wrong with me. Everybody in my family have diabetic problems, so it was kind of a shock. But I'm working really hard to prevent that. I started going to the gym and working out a little bit and just eating a lot of healthier foods. I used to be just really bad to eat just any type of sweets. And now that I've really cut back and started eating a lot of good food, fruits, vegetables, and stuff like that, I just feel like it tastes completely different now. It's not the same. I still eat sweets, but not in the way that I used to. And I started cutting back on a lot of carbs. I started drinking a lot more water, and Dr. Pepper I feel like that's what powers my big engine here, and I feel like I can't live without it. So I've just cut a lot out. I used to drink like, this is so bad. I drink like a 24 pack in like 2 or 3 days. That's a lot of sugar. Now every time I get paid, I'll only buy like a 12 pack of Dr. Pepper and keep it in the fridge and not buy another one till I get paid again. It's okay to like eat what you normally eat in moderation. It's just people overdo it, like me. Like I told you, I used to eat a whole box of little Debbie cakes by myself. That's not healthy. That's not what healthy looks like. And I wish at that age I knew that. So I had to start monitoring what I eat, checking my sugar like all the time, every time I wake up, after I eat. At some points, I would just like not worry about checking my sugar or not care what I eat, and I would just feel so bad because like it's just the unawareness thing of like you need to start being better with things or you're not going to feel better. In middle school and elementary, I've always played sports and stuff. I've always been active, but when I got into high school, I just quit playing sports, quit being active, and I think that played a big role into my health. Like I used to just like wake up and just have a headache and not feel like I had a full night's sleep or felt healthy. I think when I started going to the gym, that's when things really started to change. It's because like I just woke up and felt really great. You need to like work all of the stuff in your body out. And I think going to the gym and just like daily exercise really helps a lot with that. They never really like taught me anything in school about diabetes or anything. I wish they would like teach it in schools and stuff, just to teach kids like sugars are good, but they're also very bad. And some people's bodies, like they're just not processing those sugars correctly. And I think that's where I don't have a lot of knowledge. Like I don't know how that whole process works. And it would be really helpful if I did know, because if I don't like start being better and watching my sugar and A1Cs and all that, type 2 will develop with me. And I feel like if everybody would learn about it, they wouldn't even have to be in the position to be diagnosed as like pre-diabetic or anything before that, like the situation I was in. I don't think they really know how serious diabetes is in our region, because I just feel like if they're not told they have that problem, they're not worried about it. Or if they don't have somebody in their family that has that problem, they're not worried about it. But people do not know how much insulin costs. It is outrageous to see people personally that I've made friends with talk about how expensive that is. That breaks my heart, because in a lot of other countries, it is not hardly anything to pay for. And I just feel like thinking about like how our country is, like why should we have to pay so much for a medication that keeps people alive? I just feel like if a lot of people knew that.
Now, I feel the same way about Suboxone. It keeps us alive. I have felt more alive since I've been on this medicine than I ever did before. I was one more trauma away from ending my own existence. Bipolar makes your emotions just so uncontainable, or at least it did me. And I felt so much pain inside. Just all the trauma that I had been through in my life. You know, that's why we see so many victims of childhood sexual abuse. I'm a survivor of it. It didn't just happen once. It didn't just happen from one person. You know, usually those predators, they can spot you a mile away. They can spot children, vulnerable children who are needy, who are attention seeking, who don't have a father, who don't have a father figure in the home. They can spot them a mile away and they take advantage of them. They befriend, or a lot of times they're already family members, but they'll befriend or start trying to date you. Date single mothers that have these little children that they know they'll gain access to. All they got to do is move in with them, and then they got them. Then they got the access that they need and they want. And it's called grooming, and that's what they do. They end up making you feel like you're in like you've got a mutual relationship, like you've got this mutual bond, you've got this mutual love for each other that nobody else will understand because it's so special between you two. So then you end up confusing smacks with love, because that's all, like I've said, that's all them creeps are worried about, is the end result that comes with for them, right? This is just disgusting. Like, it's a natural thing because we're all human beings. We all have, we're sexual beings. But there's a line that people cross into perversion. That's not a normal thing to be attracted to young women who aren't even women, they're girls. Our Whitesburg mayor was a married man, in his 70s? And he started sleeping with the little girl who got the job at the city hall. And then the wife found out about it and divorced him. So he just married the new wife, the new beauty queen. Well, then when he dies 10 years later, or however many years later, they make her the new mayor. And you know what else I found out? I don't think she ever had another job before that, except for whatever job she was doing at the city hall. And I've heard so many people say, well, I think she's just done a great job. She's a great mayor. Where'd her experience come from? For what? I mean, I don't know. I just think she was, 20 years old when she married him, and him in his 70s, and her 20 or around about. She wasn't much older than that. And her big buddy who got the job with her at the city hall was Judge Kevin Mullins' wife before she was his wife. So, and he was a lot older than her. He was probably double her age. This stuff matters. It matters. I don't care what anybody wants to say, what a wonderful people they are, what wonderful whatever. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But it ain't normal. It's not normal. A 20-year-old girl don't marry a 75-year-old man. That's not normal. And then if anybody dares mention it, or if anybody dares have a reaction to it, shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. All that did was solidify and keep that job, keep that position in the hands of the same people who had it before. That's it. That's it. It looks to me like the more that I find out, the more I dig up. They started many years ago. There was a plan to fill all these positions with the right people. So that way, this whole scheme and system would work. That's a lot of dirt bags, y'all. That's a lot of freaking dirt bags. That if they're not complicit themselves, allegedly, if they're not complicit themselves, then they've had to turn a blind eye. And what are we talking about? Okay, so we've got several unsolved red rums here in this county that have never been solved. There's no updates. There's no movement on the case. And the families can come out and just praise the investigation all they want. There ain't nobody arrested yet, are they? Nobody. Nobody. You can justify it all you want to. Too many. Too many. Now, one or two, okay. But when you got count them on two hands, that's pretty bad. There's something going on. And then you got the sheriff going in the courthouse and blowing the judge away. There's something going on, y'all. This stuff don't happen for no reason. You got a mule, a 20-year-old mule, running all these rugs around town in a Commonwealth attorney's vehicle, and she wasn't caught just once. She was caught several times. Really? And it looks to me like the only one that wanted to push that was Mickey. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I don't even want to listen to her anymore. Look how young she is. And I have not confirmed this yet, but I was told today that she had allegedly OD'd. This Pratt girl had OD'd and somehow had some paralysis that she had to deal with. I don't know if it was from the OD. I don't know what. But there's a lot of questions that I have. So I've gotten my hands on the power of attorney, the documents where Edison Banks apparently he had made Tyler Ward and Michael Watts. If I didn't read that wrong, they were his power of attorney, which is kind of odd, but at the same time, like, why would you have two attorneys be your power of attorney instead of your family, somebody in your next of kin, your family? But okay. And then I find a filing where Taylor Pratt had turned in a power of attorney that took the place of the others. So she was the new power of attorney. But what I found very interesting was the date of all these filings. He passed away in November of 24. So we're going to look at all those documents tomorrow. I just wanted to kind of introduce you guys to this side of the scandal that we're still trying to find a motive for, the pew-pew at the courthouse. But I've said it from the very beginning. I think all of these things are connected. I think that the context of all of these are very important, because if there's money laundering, which I think that there is somewhere, I don't know who's doing it, but I got a really good idea. And I don't even know if money laundering's the only thing. Organized crime. We're talking RICO stuff is what I think this is. And I've said it from the very beginning. I think it's money. I think it's rugs. I think it's smacks. And I think it's pew-pews. I think it's power. I think it's all combined. And one thing, well, I won't say that. But I do. Miss Rosa, it's like they don't want to see them succeed. It seems like they feel a job threat if they do succeed. That's how I've felt the entire time. All those years that I was trying to break in down there and get my foot in the door, you know, and all this. That's exactly how I felt. They would hire you to clean the toilets and be their custodian. They'll hire you to do those kinds of jobs. But to hire you as a colleague and you're in a Suboxone program, no way. No way. Their pride won't let it happen because they all came to the table with a bias and a prejudice against it. They are all of that same old way of thinking. Ain't you been weaned off that stuff yet? Is that what we say to diabetics? Taylor, ain't you weaned yourself off of that insulin yet? For shame, for shame.
Expensive it was and how hard it is to maintain your body and stuff. I feel like they would definitely be more conscious about what they eat and how they take care of themselves. I would definitely go and get an A1C just to make sure, because that's what I had to do. But an A1C is basically like a little blood test that they take to see your, I guess it's your glucose levels for like the past 3 months. And that's what diagnoses a lot of prediabetes. If someone in your life, whether it's somebody you're like blood kin to or just somebody you know, for their sake, so like you know how much they have to go through, for your sake and their sake, just go make sure that you don't have any health problems. Because if you don't find out soon enough, it can affect you in the long run, for sure. Type 2 diabetes, like if you're diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, it's preventable. You can just take care of yourself and prevent that.
It's possible to have high blood sugar levels or even prediabetes and not even know it. But even if you do, it's not too late to slow or even prevent type 2 diabetes.
Okay. I'm going to get her off my screen. I don't want to look at her no more. Sorry. Can't help it. I'm going to pull up. Let's see. I don't want to do this. I'm going to pull y'all up a picture of our mayor and our former mayor. I put it up on a post once before. But it just, some people don't look at the posts. So we'll look and see. My mommy would probably fuss at me. Well, I just, I understand love don't have no age. Or it's just a number, so I've heard. And I married a man 10 years older than me. But I was also 40 and he was 50 when we got married. So, you know, it's kind of a little different. At least I think it was. Let's see. I must not have put it in there. And I've got, I also found a couple posts back when I was the watershed coordinator, and a lot of the work that we had done in Whitesburg. The grant that I worked on and that I wrote that grant by myself. Took me a year to do it. And I worked with the two grant counselors that we had from the previous grant. And I secured my grant that I wrote, secured $250,000 for educational projects on water quality, the local water quality in our area and the North Fork of the Kentucky River. And we did a lot of things with the school, the Whitesburg grade school. We went down and planted a riparian buffer on the creek bank. And man, we had so many projects that I had, because you have to work on all of that stuff and put it in your presentation, in your application. And that has to be accepted. Like they go through everybody's applications that turn them in. And I guess I'm going to have to send it again. Nope, there it is. Oh, Jesus, Lord. Forgive me, Jesus. But, it is what it is. See if I can make it a little bit bigger. So there is your Mayor Kraft. That's Jimmy Kraft's daddy. Our circuit court judge. That's his daddy. So this man is James Wiley Kraft. He's the one that we have read about. He used to be the prosecutor in Whitesburg. He was disbarred, and then he was pretty much immediately given his license back in the 90s. And there have been several controversies around in his career. He passed away a little while back, and this is our new mayor now. She was a beauty queen whenever they met, I guess. I don't know. But she used to be a beauty queen and still is. Looks like she should be in GQ magazine, honey. She's so pretty and most eligible bachelorette in Letcher County. But, so that's our mayor of Whitesburg now, Tiffany Kraft. And that's James Wiley. All right. So we'll quit sharing that. All right, guys. Well, I will see you. Jersey Red. I'm 48 and looking for a cougar, not a younger chick. Bridget. Question is, if Edison knew her before then, maybe she was in some trouble. Or who put her in contact with him? If he knew her before somebody put them in some type of contact, I don't see them hanging out. And who would have? I mean, that just sounds like a BS lie to me. You asked somebody, okay, you are the Commonwealth attorney, you are the top law dog, and you asked somebody for an in-home health aide to come to your house. Who did you ask? Because who would recommend her with her history? And then you say you didn't pick up on it. You didn't pick up on the addict part when she's running around with the H word, the F word. I mean, whatever. Anybody who smokes Mary Jane, you can smell them a mile away. Just saying. Which that ain't no big deal either. Smoking ain't. But all that other stuff, very much is. Very much is. Alcohol, even though it's legal, it sure ain't suggested. Because a whole lot of these people, they all gathered down there at the bar. Street side bar and grill. That's the only bar that's in this county, other than like Summit City. But that's right across the street from street side. There isn't any place else that you can go to like a bar and they have live music and, that kind of environment. And that's where all the powerful people stayed. That's years ago, several years ago. Like back when the two mayors first got together and he started bringing her around. All the crowd, the bar crowd. Oh, I've heard some stories. Heard some stories by one of the only sober people in that bar. One of the guitar players. Now, he was an alcoholic too. Only he couldn't drink until his show was over. Because he couldn't play if he was drinking. His timing and stuff was off. So if he's getting paid to go play, he's not drinking until he gets home. So while he's there, he's up on stage watching the scene, getting asked to come play private parties because they don't care if an old drunk, old druggie knows what they do. Who are they? Who's going to believe them? They ain't going to judge me. Yeah, right. You're right. Alcohol lowers your inhibitions, A lot of people do a lot of bad stuff on alcohol. No, backwards Georgia. Now, the one that I showed, the mayor, the new mayor, the mayor's wife, who became the new mayor, she wasn't a home health aide. The home health aide was, looks like allegedly a rug mule for the county attorney or the Commonwealth attorney. I mean, or she could have been his sugar baby. There's a whole lot of people out there that like to be sugar daddies. And there's a whole lot more young girls who want to be sugar babies because they don't want to work. They don't want to have to be responsible. They want to let their looks and some sexuality take care of them. I mean, I should have been a better, forgive me. I should have been a better goosey. Maybe I would have found somebody to take care of me. But after I got a good job and I started making good money and stuff, and I started soaring, the fella that I married, every insecurity came out. I mean, every insecurity came out. Like, I saved a whole big bunch of money and had my teeth done. It was important to me. It was very important to me. So I invested that in myself. Well, then he was all upset. You didn't get me no teeth. So what? I was supposed to work all year to save up enough money to get your teeth done before I do mine? Are you joking? Get out of here. No. Sorry. Anyway, some people, and I had no intention. I have no intention on not being able to support myself and my kids. I will work every day, and I will be able to keep the roof over our heads and heat in the winter and cool in the summer and a vehicle and insurance. I will have all that stuff to take care. I will make enough money for us to eat. We don't get food stamps. I will take care of us. And a lot of men, for some reason, don't like that. I don't know. I don't know if they're intimidated or what. But I used to say, man, I want to marry a doctor. I want to marry a lawyer. I want to marry some big, handsome, professional fella. I want that too. But there wasn't none of them people ever asking me out. The only people asking me out were the wrong ones. It's hard. It's tough, y'all. Life just ain't fair. And it's rough getting through it for any of us. And the only way that we can make it through is to try and stay humble. Be grateful for every blessing that we have, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. We lose so many people. I have something I want to read. I asked old Hillbilly what his thoughts were on all this stuff. And he wrote this, and I asked him if I could read it, and he said yes. And it was a long time ago, though, so sorry. It's all the same in most places. No jobs or money leads to addictions to self-medicate. Morality or lack thereof does also. Corruption is in the heart of man. The system is set up to chase money instead of the Lord and salvation. Our priorities as human beings are all backwards. Governments spend trillions on war, but most of the world still don't have clean drinking water and are starving. Billions spent on health care, and we are dying off faster than ever. Mental illness has a direct correlation to the chemicals and toxins in the food we eat, the water we drink, and the air we breathe. Possessions have took the place of compassion. So true. Empathy has almost been lost by design. People don't know the difference between religion and a personal relationship with God. Now, some organization, and we have doomed ourselves racing towards technology that we don't really understand with blinders on. The only thing greater than our ignorance is our arrogance. Man, he's hit that on the head. But without free will, it's not a real choice. Like the beer commercial says, choose wisely, my friends. Just the thought of a hillbilly. Pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for being here again tonight. And I will see you tomorrow. Miss Crystal, I love you. Thank you for all that you do. Miss Marnie, all of our mods that help every single show. I appreciate you so much. And we're going to get back on our consistent pattern, okay? Just had some rough week. All right. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, okay, guys? Have a good night. Stay blessed. Stay warm. Peace out, Girl Scout. Bye.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark passed away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no